Good morning, everybody. Mark Finan here in the home weather office on this Tuesday morning. It's now the third day of September 2024. This is the morning briefing coming to you from the home weather office. Hope you all had a good Labor Day weekend. It's Tuesday. It's time to get back to work in a somewhat shortened week. We are going to see some warmer days ahead this week, rather comfortable over the weekend. Temperatures in the upper 80s and low 90s, but we will be seeing temperatures at or above 100 over the next few days. More on that in just a minute. I wanted to start, however, this morning with a little talk about Folsom Lake. I was out near the lake the other day and noticed that it looked relatively low. So I looked into the numbers, and right now the lake is only at about 51% of total capacity, and it's lower than it was a year ago. So let's talk about that just a little bit. So what I've got here is I went to CDEC, and CDEC has, so if you want to do a Google search for that, just CDEC, and it's the California data site. And then under reservoirs, and you can find Folsom Lake. So what I've got here is a graph of Folsom Lake, and I'll show you the entire year. I can't get the entire year on one screen. But right now, the lake stands here at 416 feet, right here. So as you can see, as I go along this, you'll see this change up in here. So right as I scroll over this, you can see that it's at 416.98 feet. Yeah, that's relatively low. Of course, it peaked just right around full back here in May. Actually, in June. June 11th is when we have this peak right here, around 11th through 12th, and then it dropped off. Now, so I said 416. Let me go this way on the graph, and you'll see that last year at this time, so this is a 365-day graph, last year at this time, we were at 441 feet. So we're still pretty full. It bottomed out at 410, and then, of course, we had the rain over the winter, and it came back up to full by the time we get into June. So the lake dropped off a lot faster this year. Question is, why? Well, a couple of reasons for that. One is less water coming in. So what I'm going to look at here is this is a graph going back a little bit more than a year of how much water is going into the lake every day. And right now, as I scroll over this again, watch this number up here. And as you can see right now, the inflow is at 1,478 CFS, cubic feet per second. If we go over this, you can go back here to when we had all the rain over the course of the winter and peaked at an average of 16,000 back here on that big day we had back in March. And then you go back a year ago. This is what I really want to look at. A year ago, as we went through August and September, we were still seeing more than 2,000 acre feet per second coming in. Now that stayed true throughout the summer last year and even into the early fall. We were still getting the benefit of the big winter we had the year before. This year's winter and snowpack wasn't as big as the year before, so that the inflows dropped off a lot faster to keep the lake a little bit higher last year than it is this year. So for those of you that go boating on Folsom Lake, now we have at 416 feet. The Folsom Lake Marina says that the boats must be removed from the slips at 412. At the current rate of decrease, that could be as much as 10 to 14 days from now. But for those of you that do have boats down at the marina, I'm sure you're well aware of this. I'm sure they posted it everywhere that the boats have to be out by the time it gets down to 412. I don't think they put in the 5-mile-an-hour speed limit until it gets down to either 400 or 405, something like that. So we still have a ways to go, but certainly a shorter boating season on Folsom Lake. One other interesting thing I wanted to point out about Folsom Lake is, sure, we have less inflow this year than we had a year ago, but also we were losing more this year to evaporation. Something we don't talk about all that much, but this is the daily average evaporation for the last 90 days on Folsom Lake. And this is also in cubic feet per second. You can see here back in mid-June, peaked at 170, although we had another day here that went up to 170 in July when we were having our heat, and another day here, this is at 166 back in July as well. So we were seeing 150, this line right here is 150. So many days we were seeing more than 150 cubic feet per second on average leave the lake. Now 150 CFS, what does that translate to? All right, I had to do some math here. So let me get my math so I can read it off to you. So 150 to 170 cubic feet per second averages about 70 to 75,000 gallons per minute. 70,000 gallons per minute. If you have a backyard pool, that might have roughly 20,000 gallons. So you're losing about 3 swimming pools or more every minute out of the lake. And if you want to translate it to acre feet, over the course of any given day, we are losing about 300 acre feet just to evaporation. And that's because this summer was so much hotter, especially the June, July, and even early August were very hot. And then, of course, you can see the cooler weather here, and for the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've seen the evaporation come down to less than 100. Another reason for that is the fact that there's less surface area than it was back in July as well. But a couple of things going on there. And again, we never talk about evaporation. Nothing you can really do about that. But this higher evaporation rate, I did look back to last summer, and it was not as high. It was more like 120 last year, where this year is more like 150 to 170. And that, again, is a factor of our July being the hottest July on record. So just a little something to think about that we had going on this year. Let's talk about what's going on today. California, we have clear skies in the area. We once again have the coffee pot fire putting out some smoke. Doesn't look as though it has as much smoke as the last couple of days. And also the marine layer. Notice this big gap in the marine layer here north of San Francisco. With the developing offshore flow, we will likely see the marine layer go away, and we will see warmer temperatures. This is also an interesting feature up here. Man, there's big fires going on in Idaho, and this is cloud cover here, this is smoke here. We have smoke down below, big smoke here. Looks as though most of that smoke will be staying here in Idaho. Don't really see a pattern right now where we could get some of that smoke into Northern California, but we'll keep an eye on that. But that is that heavy, dense smoke. I mean, compare that to the coffee pot fire that just kind of puts up some haze, comparing. And this is just kind of that smoke that looks like that overcast sky that we have seen occasionally in California. But yeah, that's big time smoke coming off those fires in Idaho and just kind of spinning around this low. With that, let's take a look at the 500 millibar chart, because we are going to see some changes over the next week. This is this morning. There's that low going on around in Idaho right here. So there's that flow, little north flow, and there's that circulation showing the smoke. But for us, we have a building ridge, and with a developing offshore flow at the surface, we will likely have some temperatures at or above 100. We're probably going to see this little wave come by the time we get into the day Friday. I think this is getting into Friday. Yep, this is Friday. Nudging the ridge out, bringing temperatures down. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, especially Wednesday, Thursday, likely to be the warmest days we will see. And then we have some troughing coming in for the weekend to bring temperatures back down into a cooler range. But beyond that, it does look as though, well, we'll see some nicer days once again. But we may not be done with the heat just yet. I know this is getting way out there, but toward the middle part of the month, the latest models are once again indicating a pretty broad ridge here, which this is should be up around the 15th. Yeah, this is the 15th. A pretty broad ridge that could be getting the temperatures back up to around 100 degrees or more. So while we'll see a couple of 100s over the next couple of days, we may see a return of them again toward the middle part of the month. I believe the average day of the last 100 for Sacramento is around the 10th of September. So yeah, we're getting to the time of year where it's close to the when we'll see our last 100, but we're not quite there just yet. Let's talk a little bit about the breezes that we're going to see. This is this afternoon. These areas in blue, this is at 5 o'clock, indicating very, very light winds. So no cooling delta breeze for us tonight to bring us the cooler air, and that means temperatures today will likely be about 10 degrees warmer than yesterday, which puts us up to around 100 degrees this afternoon. Then as we head through tonight, we actually see the offshore flow, the downslope wind on the west slope of the Sierra, which we often see, but you also see in the valley there's nothing in the way of onshore breeze, so not much in the way of onshore breeze, not much in the way of marine layer, not a good combination. This is then during the day on Wednesday afternoon, also light winds in the afternoon when you would expect these areas to see much stronger winds So yeah, just not much in the way of a cooling breeze, and the same will be true again on Thursday. This is Thursday afternoon. The wind may be a little bit stronger, but nothing past Solano County and the immediate Delta region. So that means that Sacramento, and especially areas toward Marysville, Chico, and beyond, will likely see temperatures at or above 100, with cooler weather coming our way as we get toward the weekend. So that's everything I've got for you this morning. A little update on Folsom Lake and some warmer days ahead. Yeah, I know Labor Day weekend tends to be the unofficial end of summer, but we're not quite done with temperatures over 100 just yet. But for those of you that do not like the heat, keep in mind that we are going to see an end of them come pretty soon, likely within the next few weeks. So we're getting there. Fall isn't all that far away. That's everything I've got for you this morning. Make it a great day. I'll talk with you later.